Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Dylan, and today I wanted to give you guys some very practical exercises, practices to be able to reprogram your subconscious mind. It is ones that I've used for years, and I've tried a lot, and these are the ones that have stuck with me and that I know work. And so that's why I want to share them with you. But before I share those practices with you guys, I want to talk about how our mind, and specifically our subconscious mind, gets programmed in the first place. Like, especially maybe as you get into adulthood, it's like, why do I have such a, depending on on how you were raised, it's like, why do I have such a bad relationship for money? I never chose this. It just kind of happened, and it is my experience. And I'm going to explain how that happens. So for ages 0 to 7, obviously, our toddler years, we are in a complete hypnotic state. Our brain waves are in theta brainwave state, which it just is a very low vibrational state. The only other time after we get older that we're in that state is right before we wake up, or right after we wake up, and right as we're going to sleep, and while we're in sleep, we're kind of in theta as well. And I will touch back on that later in the video. But from ages 0 to 7, we are just trying to learn how to interact in the world, learn how to interact in society, how to treat people in relationships. And how do we learn that? We learn it by watching, and even more so, not more so, but even equally on an energetic level, just taking in information and modeling it, and just, okay, I see this person, my parents, teachers, behaving this way towards me. Okay, then maybe I develop a belief about myself, or this is how I am supposed to treat other people. Or if it's around money, if your parents had a hard time with money, even if there was enough to go around, but they just argued about money, then you would, of course, receive some programs that are just not helpful for you as you get older around money, just a negative association with it. And yeah, these things happen because we're in a theta brainwave state, because we are hypnotic, essentially. Like, if you ever was to go get hypnotized, you would be put in a theta brainwave state if they are successful. And then after ages 7, from ages 7 to 14 ish, really 7 to 12, but like 14, it's kind of fully developed, is our analytical mind, which is the barrier between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And so 0 to 7, there is no barrier. It's just everything that comes in becomes a program in some way, shape, or form. From ages 7 to 14, we develop that analytical faculty to be able to not let everything in. We have our analytical minds to decide, hey, does this make sense to me? Is this something I want to believe is true? Now, most of the time we don't think about that when we're that young, of course, but it's the same process as an adult now. And after, I think, yeah, after age 7, our brain waves start to increase, and then we are less susceptible to just being programmed by influx of information. The ways that we get programmed after the fact, or after that, I guess, is through repetition. Now, you can think about when you were 14 years old, maybe 15, 16, depending on, when you did it. You took a driver's ed class and you went to learn how to drive. At first, when you're in the car, I know this was my experience, I was like, holy shit. I wasn't scared, but and I was just like, oh God, really fully paying attention. Like, my entire, all of my awareness was going onto the road, onto my hands on the steering wheel, my feet on the pedal or the brake. And then if I'm about to turn left, it's like, look, okay, signal, looking. And that's because, we had never driven car before then. And as you start to learn how to drive a car, it takes repetition. And then the more you do it, the more comfortable it gets. It becomes a program in your mind. And now, I'm sure all of you have experienced this if you're old enough, if you've been driving for even more than just like a year or two, you've probably experienced this, that now you can be driving on the roads and maybe 5, 10 minutes goes by, you're thinking about a problem at home or a problem at your work or at school. And then you get to your destination and you're like, whoa, I totally was not aware of myself when I was driving, but I made it there safely and I did it successfully. And that happens because of the repetition that programmed the subconscious mind. I just heard something moving over there. I don't see anything. Anyways, because the repetition that programmed the subconscious mind is automatic. And so we don't have to think about it when we do it. And it just becomes an automatic process of just, okay, I got to turn left, left turn signal alert. All right. You can do that while you're singing, while you're looking at GPS, while you're thinking about something all at the same time, because it just is effortless and automatic. And that is basically the point of subconscious programs. And that is why so many people struggle with so many different things in life, because their subconscious programs go against the things that they want in life. And, we don't manifest the things that we want. We manifest who we are. And who we are is based upon our subconscious identity of ourselves, our subconscious programs. And, you simply can't manifest beautiful things into your life if you do not feel worthy, if you do not feel deserving, if you feel just like, like you don't deserve good things. It will not come into your life. And that's just one simple example of why it's so important to reprogram our subconscious mind. And so how do we do this? Well, the two ways that I shared with you that we got these programs when we were growing up, ages 0 to 7 was in theta brainwave state. And from there on, it was repetition, 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 over and over and over and over. And so those are the two ways that we can reprogram our subconscious mind. Now, the first thing you want to do is become aware of the things that you do not want as a program in your mind anymore. And how do you know what is a program in your mind? It's very simple. Look at your life. 95% of your life, maybe 90 to 95% of your life, is a reflection, a manifestation of the programs you have in your subconscious mind. If you've always had a hard time with money, you definitely have programs that go against bringing an abundance of money in. If you have always had a hard time with relationships, then you have programs against keeping loved ones in your life, or specifically partners in your life. And so how do I know this though? Why did I say 90 to 95%? Well, because our mind is made up of subconscious, as I've been talking about, and conscious mind. And science proves that the subconscious mind makes up about 95% of our minds, and our conscious mind is 5%. Another interesting statistic science has somehow discovered, I don't know how, but it makes sense, is that we think an average of 60 to 100,000 thoughts in a day, give or take. 95% of those thoughts are the same as the day before. Now, that's an interesting number, Our subconscious mind is 95% of our mind. Our conscious is 5%. And 95% of our thoughts are the same thoughts every single day. That's not a coincidence that those numbers are exactly the same. It's because our subconscious programs essentially rule our lives. One other interesting statistic, or just fact, scientific fact I'll share with you guys, is that the subconscious mind, which is our autonomic nervous system, essentially, and various different parts of the brain. The conscious mind is the prefrontal cortex. The subconscious mind is everything else, essentially. And the subconscious mind, I might butcher the number because I always forget. It's such a big number though, but the subconscious mind is able to process somewhere between like 4 and 10 million bits of information per second. And by bits of information, that means, I'm looking at, here, I'll just turn this around and show you, like, there's hundreds of millions, if not billions or trillions of information just looking out at a landscape. You know, there's different houses, there's different rocks and textures and shapes and colors and sounds and smells. All those are bits of information. And so our subconscious mind is able to process around 4 million to 10 million, I don't remember the exact number, bits of information per second, while our conscious mind is able to process 40, maybe 100 bits of information per second. Now, that is a significant difference. And again, you know, the percentage is probably somewhere around 95% of everything that we intake is processed by our subconscious mind. And so that is why it is so important to reprogram it. And how do you identify what do you need to reprogram? Well, look at your life. 95% of your life is a manifestation of your subconscious mind. If you have problems in your relationship consistently, problems with finances consistently, problems with confidence, not enjoying life, not feeling happy consistently, I guarantee you have some form of subconscious program that goes against abundance, goes against happiness, goes against love and commitment, or whatever it is. And so, with all that being said, there's two ways we can reprogram our subconscious mind. As I said, I went over them, is in theta brainwave state and repetition. And so, when we go to sleep, throughout the day, we're generally in a beta brainwave state, which is kind of active, you know, mind. If you're learning, you're in beta. If you're working, you're in beta. If you're sitting on the couch, relaxing, watching television or whatever, you are, or if you're watching this YouTube video, you're probably in alpha brainwave state, which is also a fairly good state to program your mind. Another reason to stop watching television, especially all the commercials, I'm not going to go into it. Maybe I'll make another video about it, but they know this science behind it, which is why these commercials and television programs are so effective, and they're called programs for a reason. Anyways, then as you're settling down in the day, you go from beta, highest brainwave state, and by what I mean by highest, just the fastest wavelength of energy. Neither one are better or worse than the other. It's just, you know, need different purposes for each one. And so beta, as we start to relax, we go into alpha. As we start to fall asleep, or really, you know, you're in that half awake, half asleep state, then you are in theta brainwaves. And then when you get into deep sleep, you are in delta. And now while you're asleep, you kind of switch back and forth between delta and theta. Delta would be like rapid eye movement sleep, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that. But then as you wake up, then you come out from delta into theta for the first half an hour or so, 15 minutes to a half an hour. Right after you wake up, your mind, your subconscious mind, just your brain is in theta. So it is in the same hypnosis state that you were in when you were a child, when you received all these programs that you just don't want anymore. And why is this important? Well, because as we're falling asleep, give or take 15 minutes to a half an hour before falling asleep and about a half an hour or so after waking up. You can look this up if you want to, you know, it is a scientific fact. They've just experimented and found these things to be true. As you're waking up and as you're going to sleep, that small amount of time, 15 minutes to a half an hour before falling asleep and after waking up, you are in theta brainwave state. And so you are in a hypnotic state. And so you are much more suggestible to information. And how? Well, it's because your analytical mind is asleep. You know, when you go to sleep, your conscious mind goes to sleep, your analytical mind goes to sleep, your subconscious mind is still working. It's still taking care of your body. It's having you breathe in and out as you're asleep, and you're not able to control that whatsoever. So the subconscious is always awake. But as you go from beta to alpha, the conscious mind starts to, you know, kind of go to sleep. And from alpha to theta, the conscious and the analytical mind, basically they're the same thing. They go to sleep. And so you are very suggestible to information. And you can experiment with this yourself, you know. When you wake up in the first thing in the morning, you start saying, maybe if you want a better relationship with money and you have not experienced the wealth that you want, you can start saying to yourself, I am wealthy. And if you say that to yourself throughout the day, notice you're gonna have resistance. Your conscious mind's gonna be like, no, you're not. Look at your bank account, look at this, look at that. But right when you wake up in the morning, if you're just like, I'm wealthy, just notice that there's not resistance to it because your conscious mind is still asleep. And so it's just much more susceptible to information. And so in that time period, doing affirmations, visualizations, and really those are the two things that I personally would recommend is doing some type of affirmation practice. As soon as you wake up, first thing in the morning, you can give thanks, for a new day and just focus on a couple of affirmations or one that covers everything that you want to cover. And just take it one step at a time. We've been programmed by so many things over such a long period of time. Don't try to change everything at once. Just if you want to improve your relationships, focus on that. If you want to improve your finances and money relationship, focus on that. And you can pick a couple of affirmations. I'll throw some out there for you guys around money. You can say, I've always had more than enough. I have more than enough. I will always have more than enough. You could just say something simple as like every day my wealth increases. The infinite or just the unlimited supply of money is attracted to me. God always provides all my needs. Whatever floats your boat. Around a relationship, you can say, I'm worthy of love. I attract, if you don't have it, I attract a person into my life who's going to treat me the way that I treat them, that I want to be treated. And if you do have it, then every day, I'm kind of coming up with these off the top of my head a little bit, but you could say something like, every day I fall more and more in love with this person and they fall more and more in love with me. Whatever affirmation you choose that you want, that feels good for you, just focus on that in that time period. I'll give you a couple more for self-concept. If you have a struggle with confidence, if you have a hard time feeling good about yourself, simple ones are I am enough, I am worthy, I am deserving. You can add things on top of that. I'm deserving of wealth. I'm deserving of my dream relationship. And then one of my favorite ones that covers a lot of things is write this one down. Pause the video after I say it, write it down, put it in your phone notes. It is, I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, abundant, loving, harmonious, and happy. If you can repeat something like that on just loop for half an hour after you wake up, your life will definitely begin to change in a couple of weeks. And so that is the first practice. As soon as you wake up in the morning, choose affirmations and or visualizations, whichever one is easier for you to do. For me, affirmations is easier because I don't know, like it's just a little bit difficult for me to visualize things when my brain is waking up, and that's just me. But choose whatever works for you. And then the second way of reprogramming your mind, the second practice is repetition. And so the same two things again, affirmations or visualization. So if you choose visualization, for example, you wake up in the morning, you just have a short scene. You don't want to make it a 5-minute long scene that is hard to get through. You want to make it like a 15 to 30-second scene at the max of whatever it is you want. If you want more money, you can imagine, opening your phone, looking at your bank account, and just like, wow, I'm so grateful for all this money. Or if you want a relationship, you can just imagine what it would feel like to be in the relationship with the person that you want to be with. Or if you don't have a specific person in mind, then just the ideal, characteristics of a person that you want in your life. And you wake up and you do that in the morning, and then in the afternoon you do it again, and in the evening time you do it again. And I didn't mention this for the first practice, but that's something you want to do in the morning and in the evening time, because as I said, it's a 30-minute period before you fall asleep and after you wake up is one of the best times to reprogram your mind. So consistency throughout the day with the visualizations. Now, when it does come to the repetition, I do suggest affirmations highly, because as I said, we have 60 to 100,000 thoughts every single day, and 95% of our thoughts are the same. And so the best course of action, in my opinion, is to understand what thoughts you have throughout the day. If it's around money, what kind of limiting beliefs do you have? If it's around your self-confidence and worth, what thoughts do you experience? Just pay attention to it throughout the day. You can write them down, and then you can come up with just a small handful of affirmations to counteract that belief, and slowly over time, repetitively, consistently shave away the old belief and replace it with the new one. Because, you can't, I know there's some type of metaphor for this, but you can't plant, for example, like some vegetables in a garden full of weeds and expect the vegetables to do good. You have to pull the weeds out first. That is the first thing, which that is a part of the process of the repetition, is slowly shaving away the weeds in the garden of your mind, plucking them out, and then you continue the repetition, and that builds the soil and the environment for the things that you actually want to plant to grow and flourish. And what I recommend for this is something I recently did myself. I've had it in my mind, for a while, just a couple of them. But I recently, on my phone notes, just on my cell phone, wrote, there's like 5 different or 6 different things that sometimes, I'm not going to share them with you exactly, but there's 6 different things that sometimes I can struggle with. And so I wrote, like, if I am feeling, so my phone died, and I'll just pick up where I left off with, which what I was saying was that I have things on my phone for if I'm feeling sad, or if I'm feeling fear, or if I'm feeling doubt. It's a little bit more specific than that for myself, but having one note where if I'm feeling this way, then use these 3 affirmations. I have about 3, maybe 4 for each one. And that is something just to reference in the times where you're having a hard time. And it's on your phone, so you have basically no excuses, because everybody always has their phone on them now. And this is the way to shave out the old beliefs, the limiting beliefs, the beliefs that just do not serve us anymore, that we don't want, and to slowly replace it with the new, to replace lack with abundance, to replace fear with faith, to replace a lack of self-esteem with confidence. And having this cheat sheet, I guess, you could call it that, has been very helpful for me personally, because a lot of the times when you're really just not feeling good, something is weighing down on you. One of the things that you can identify that you struggle with is weighing down on you. It can be difficult to think about affirmations that you have came up with in the past, or that you've come across in the past that you really liked and that felt really good for you and helped you, just feel better around the subject. Because those old ways of thinking are so ingrained in our brains, in our minds, and the new ways of thinking, we are working on ingraining them, to getting the grooves deeper for the neural connections, to fire those thoughts more consistently. And so, yeah, as I said, this cheat sheet is very helpful in those times where it's just noticing the thought loops, the negative thought loops happening. And then once you become aware of it, stop it, look at your cheat sheet, and then use that to change your state, to affirm what you want. And then over time, the things that you don't want will fade away, and they will be replaced in the garden of your mind, as I said, with the plants, the fruit, the vegetables, the flowers, the trees that you do want to reap harvest from. And as it says in the Bible, as you reap, or as you sow, what you sow, you shall reap as well. And so if we're constantly sowing these negative thoughts, we're going to reap negative feelings. We're going to reap negative experiences. And that's why it is so important to change our thinking. And I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope that you practice this because it will change your life, I guarantee you. Especially both of them are very powerful, but especially if you really are consistent every single morning and evening with repeating an affirmation and visualization over and over and over for at least 10 minutes. Give yourself 10 minutes out of the day, twice a day, to do these practices that will help you create whatever you want. And one other thing that I wanted to say, I mentioned it in the video before when I got cut off, but it's just that I'm not perfect. I've manifested a lot of wonderful things in my life, and I've changed myself a lot. I used to be in a very dark place, and I think I already said it actually in this video. I don't know. I've had to retake this thing a couple of times, so forgive me if I've already said this, but I've been in a dark place in my life, and now I feel so much better, and it's only up. And one thing about personal growth is that it's not a straight up, like you're not going up an elevator. It's more like climbing a mountain, I guess you could say. It's like some of it's up, some of it's down, it's up and then it's down. And that's just going to be the nature of it for until who knows when, honestly. So just be committed to that process and fall in love with the journey of making yourself a better version of yourself and doing it through repetition and everything else that I've shared with you guys in this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you got some good insight. Please apply these things. As I said, please apply this. It really doesn't take that much time out of your day. Take 15 minutes, find some affirmations, stick to them for a couple of weeks, every single day, multiple times a day, and then come back to me in, let's just say, 3 weeks and see how you feel. So with that, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.